Well, hello, folks. Welcome to this very special edition of Recruiting Live on Veterans Day with veteran of not only the show, but also of the U.S. Army, Arron Daniels. Thank you so much for being here, Arron.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks for having me.
so I know we have some new people on the line because of this awesome topic and because of our great guest. So I just want to tell you guys a little bit about how Recruiting Live works, so you're not surprised when, number one, you don't see any slides. We don't do slides. We do a live Q&A. And today is the first time that we're really putting like a theme or a topic around it to really focus because it's Veterans Day. And Arron and I both have backgrounds that, are like, for me, we have both of us actually, we were just talking about this. We have generations of veterans, and giving back is something that's really important to both of us. We are both wearing red today. Derek, as you can see, Aaron's wearing his throat punch shirt.
My favorite. From Grunt Style. I love those guys.
Yeah. And so today we're going to be talking specifically about recruiting veterans. Because traditionally, veterans have a hard time coming into the civilian world. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and help people kind of understand where veterans are coming from?
Yeah, so depending on what era of veteran you get, they may have some time to acclimate to the market. Sometimes they don't. But there's a specific lifestyle that you can only experience if you serve, and that's to be expected. And that transition is tough because I read a really great article about a guy. He said, somebody cares if my boots fit. Your employer, I can almost 100% guarantee you, they don't care if your boots fit. Well, in the military, they care because if your boots fit, you can get all kinds of injuries and stuff, all the running and stuff. But that type of mentality, caring about you down to the granular level, regardless of how harsh it may be or seem, that's a completely different mindset and a shift when you get out to the civilian world. And also, you've heard it a million times, I'm sure, just going through the same experience, the same hardships, the same deployments, the same suck factor, they like to call it in the military. It builds strong relationships with your team, and then leaving those folks to essentially go to a civilian job is it's like going to another country sometimes. I've heard some folks tell me. So that's a big reason why I think there needs to be some education behind veteran recruitment and veteran hiring as well.
Totally. I think you touched on two things that a lot of people forget about. It's like when you're in the military, everyone speaks the same language. We use the same acronyms. We have the same focus, right? You're on a team that everybody's driven towards the same thing. And many times civilian teams aren't structured like that, right? There's a little bit of disparity about where we're going, what we're focused on. Everyone's running in a million directions. And the other piece, and I think this plays into why we have to make effort, is because in the Army, and as an Army brat of two people who served over 25 years, I can tell you, there's a lot of uncertainty in the Army that you don't normally see, civilians don't see, right? Which is, we don't know where we're going to live next. We're told what our next job is going to be, right? It's not like we go into the system and apply and choose, and we're like, oh, I can't wait to live near family again. It's like, no, they don't need you there. You're getting sent to Fort Bragg, one of the places we were talking about, right?
Would anyone go to some of the places that these military bases are at, in the middle of the desert or way up in the cold mountains of Fort Drum in New York? So.
Exactly. Been there. Oof.
Oh.
Anyway. Exactly. So what do you think that recruiters should be doing to help veterans? Let's talk through a little bit of the psychology behind it. So we're talking about like how soldiers function, but how can recruiters change their psychology to focus on veterans to really help them?
Yeah, so me personally, I think it's mindset, right? It doesn't have to be a big ticker tape parade. It doesn't have to be a big company push. It can start with just one recruiter putting a veteran candidate, which also plays into diversity and inclusion as well, so double whammy, making a goal for yourself, starting with one veteran hire a month or two or what have you, depending on what your volume is. And don't get wrapped up in the waving the flag syndrome with your company, because so when I say wave the flag syndrome, a lot of companies say, yeah, we have a veteran program and we want to recruit veterans, but then if you look at their actual hires, that 1, 2 a year when they hire hundreds of people, don't get wrapped around that. Just make sure that you're doing what's right and you know that you're submitting veteran candidates. And then secondly is education, and this goes twofold for recruiters and hiring managers, and then also for veterans out there, if any of you are watching. Educating your hiring managers that a veteran candidate may not always be plug and play, but you have to make sure that each hiring manager is aware of this. And it may be a culture fit, it may be skills specifically, but there's always a little bit of a learning curve, like with every job, but a little more so for veteran candidates, because especially if they're right out of the military, again, that big shift is critical. And then also I'd say put a little more effort into the research behind veteran communities. Look up what their veteran communities are on LinkedIn, Facebook. We'll talk about those a little bit later. And kind of see what they're talking about. Kind of imagine yourself in their shoes, if you will, and just try to make that transition as easy as possible.
Right, because most veterans also don't know how to translate their resume into something that's sourceable for the average recruiter who just goes in and does a search.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I love sharing this example. Got a infantry officer, right? His job is to, be an infantryman, kick in doors, shoot things, yada, yada, yada. Well, I don't know where that would source from, but his resume was, led a platoon of XYZ 11 Bravos and 211 Charlies and blah, 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 blah. But he never said anything about program management. He never said anything about some of the software that he used on the daily. There's something called Blue Force Trackers that I think they still use them today. I don't know. I've been out now for a few years. And that they were looking for somebody to do program management for that software. Well, if you're an infantry or combat arms, and you're always rolling on roads, especially in the Iraq and Afghanistan theaters, you use that on the daily. So having the veterans translate their resumes not only to skill set, because you can't really translate infantry tactics to a specific program management, but if you can dive into what equipment did you use, what was it like, do a little research on that as well. And then you're going to have to coax some information out of veterans, especially if they're fresh out of service, because they're silent professionals. They don't brag. At least they're not supposed to, in my opinion. So
yeah, absolutely. And a few comments here. Ryan Nelson, welcome Ryan. I know this is actually his first one. We were chatting briefly before. And he said, remember, if you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got, right? Like, I think, as somebody who spent most of their life living on bases too, I think there's a huge opportunity here to change your culture with great veterans, right? Yeah. There is a culture in the military of family and teamwork and focusing on a mission. And if that's something that you see your culture struggling with, it might make sense to refocus your hiring strategy on getting more veterans on your team so that they can lead these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. But we were just talking about the mindset, right? I want to put something out there that not everybody's going to like, but I'm going to tell you the truth. Not all veterans are awesome.
True.
Plain and simple. Not all veterans are great. We get fired too. If you do something really bad, they can kick you out, right? They're a veteran. I love when I see people say, hire every veteran, and I'm thinking in my head, no, I know some veterans right now I would never, ever hire. So they're a candidate pool. Just understand that. They're a candidate pool that needs a little bit more, a couple more touch points, but you still have to make sure that, they're a good fit with you and your company culturally. So, yeah,
that's a great point.
Said that. Gosh, I said that last Veterans Day because I saw all the, the common stuff going. Oh, Happy Veterans Day! Hire every veteran, and I said, no, that's not the best idea. And got some flack for it, and people don't want to believe it, but hey, it's the truth. So
that brings up a great question, though. How can you do your due diligence on a veteran? Like, is there a resource or how would you kind of do a background check on a veteran?
So the background check, if you're using background agencies, that's kind of hit or miss because your records are kept with whichever branch of service that you went for. If they provide you a DD-214, especially if they're fresh out, that's pretty much where the hard background check excuse me, that's where it's hard for us to do background checks. If they're fresh out of the military, it's really hard to do it then. But if they provide you a DD-214, there's what's called an SPD or separation code, and that's public knowledge, and you can look it up, and it tells you exactly why they were separated and if they're eligible to come back in. That's what you need to look at, is if they're eligible to come back in, because some of the separation codes sound really bad, but they're not. So
right.
I think somebody, oh gosh, a few years ago, somebody said he has other than honorable on his DD-214. I don't know if that's okay to hire. Well, why? Well, it's because he only did one term of service, and he was let go medically, and they just put other than honorable in there. Who knows why they did it? It's up to an admin clerk sitting somewhere, right? But if they're eligible for reentry, which is an RE code at the bottom of the DD-214, that's your dead giveaway right there. If it's a 4, that was really bad. If it's a 3, you need to ask some solid questions, and then if it's 2 or 1, you're okay.
All right, good advice. So, all right, let's say I get a resume that has a ton of acronyms that I don't understand. We started to touch a little bit on those just now. Are there any resources that you like better than others for translation for the average civilian?
If you get the resume and if you look at the resume long enough for you to figure out, hey, I might want to translate this, it might be something worth it. You found something else on there, on that resume that might pique your interest. But even if you're just curious, you can go to military translators. They're all over the place. A lot of large corporations have it embedded in their system. Military.com has a really, really great one. But keep in mind, bringing up MOS translators, when you're hired in the military, you get a list of probably about 3 things, or you may even get 1 choice. So based off of what the military needs at the time, and also your aptitude scores. Just because they did a specific job in the military doesn't mean they want to keep doing it. I was a small network administrator from the Zone Corps for a little bit, but I'm definitely not doing that now. I got tired of configuring routers, right? So, configuring.
Configuring.
That's why I'm not doing it anymore, right? So keep that in mind. Those job translators, or the MOS translator, military occupational specialty, it stands for job. Those are only good so far, because there's secondary duties and tertiary duties that almost everybody gets assigned, but it's not a specific MOS or a code that can be translated into skill set, etc., etc. But they are good for foundation. Totally. So that's a great way. And then also, if you saw the resume and you wanted to talk to them, just pick up the phone. It's like, hey, you're going to need to help me out here. This is Greek, and I don't speak it. So
yes, exactly. And Ryan just asked, could you tie in an MOS translator in your ATS? Have you ever seen that?
I have not seen that. So the MOS translators that I see are they're all pulling from the same database. I think, I'm not sure that it's tied to specifically a government thing. But I wouldn't want to do that anyway. I mean, because that'll just help you lock in veterans into the job that they did do and not what they want to do. So
yeah.
I
want to answer a few questions, and then I want to get into actually tactically sourcing veterans, because I think there's great opportunity there, and that's really our action item today, is to teach you how to better source these veterans so that we get more of them in the pipeline, because the pipeline is power. Quick one from Jason Vogel. Thank you for being here. He said, can you share the significance of wearing red shirts today? You shared this last time. I'll let you answer.
Yeah. So every Friday, I try to wear a red shirt. It's red because it's military in our acronyms. RED is an acronym. It's Remember Everyone Deployed. So we've got brothers and sisters out there. You know, Thanksgiving's coming up, and they're not going to be here. Christmas is coming up, birthdays, anniversaries, all that stuff. They're out and suck, and I'm sitting here in an air-conditioned office. So every Friday, I always put on a red shirt to pay homage to those folks until they come home.
Exactly.
So, thanks for the question.
Yeah, and a few comments actually from Michael Townsend. Thanks for being here, Michael. I always appreciate you. He said, recruiters need to get familiar with the veteran networks in their area. A lot of areas have VSO assistants or veteran nonprofits that specifically help veterans get positions in the civilian world.
So that's actually a great question, or a great comment, Michael, because as a recruiter, if you just Google veteran-friendly programs, like where the hell do I start, right? There's a lot of them out there. I've been interfacing with a program called RP6, the USO, and they have quite a few chapters and regions, and they'll coach veterans, they'll teach them how to write a resume, they'll teach them how to do an interview, they'll even source their own database for you and give you qualified and interested candidates for your job. And I pulled up the list beforehand, so if they have one in Fort Campbell, which is in, you know where that is, Clarksville, Tennessee, Fort Carson, Colorado, Fort Hood, San Antonio, Virginia, New York, Kansas, Texas, Nevada, Oklahoma. So the site is rp6.org. Easy peasy. And it's a free service. They don't charge you. Excuse me. Their job is just to help get transitioning veterans, get them to work. So, and they're already polished for you. So thanks, Michael. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
Who's
he
also
just shared another comment.
He's serving the Navy.
Yes. He said, you know, and if you live near base, partner with those career counselors. And for those of you on the line who are looking for ways that you might be able to help a veteran, I just signed up for a site called Veterati, Veterati, and basically what it is it's a two-sided mentorship platform where you sign up as a mentor, and then you are partnered with veterans who are looking for help with their job search. So you sign in with your LinkedIn profile, you share kind of your expertise, your relation to the military, all of that, and make yourself available at 4 times over a month. You update your availability per month, saying, like, I'm available at 11 o'clock on Wednesdays, every Wednesday this month. And veterans come in and request your time. The platform is really easy to use. Allison's asking me for it again. It's Veterati, Veterati.
I'm taking it.
But I really like it. It makes it easy on you, and it basically just schedules an hour call. They even patch the call for you, so you don't even have to exchange numbers. And it gives you an opportunity to be able to give back, to help them work on their resume. And I've even actually taken one of those resumes and posted it, and Derek Zeller jumped right on it and got this candidate an interview. So we're able to make some like real practical work with them. So, you know, huge opportunity. Again, Veterati, Veterati. So please check it out. I think there's a huge potential there. But also, like we mentioned before I went off on this rant, was to talk about sourcing veterans. So what communities do you like for going in to kind of source and recruit veterans?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I absolutely dig Rally Point. It's R-A-L-L-Y, Point, all one word. It's LinkedIn for veterans, essentially, and it's a very close, guarded community. So everyone who signs up is either currently serving or they have served, and they've verified that service through official means. So they're veterans there. So everybody on the page is either a veteran or a service member currently serving, or they are a veteran community-friendly person. So as a recruiter, you can sign up for Rally Point and start kind of looking and seeing what people talk about. There's about 1 million registered veteran and service members. It's about a 50-50 split, and that's where they go to talk about what's going on in the military. They go in depth to talk about jobs. So if you see like a 25U on a resume, you can go and look it up right there, and you can get all the information you need. You can connect with folks just like you can. They have a recruiter sheet and a business platform that's really cool, but check it out yourself. and I'm more than willing to help answer questions on if you want to get in and help how to source it the normal way, and then also, you know, we like to break things as sourcers, so I'll teach you how to break it too if you want. So I love Rally Point. It's an easy place to connect, and you can see if people are active. So if they're active and they have a background that you like, why not, right? There's Hiring Solve. They literally just rolled out another diversity and inclusion filter for veterans. So it doesn't change your results, but it does filter veteran candidates to the top of your search. That is a paid-for tool, but you can check those guys out. And then, you know, we always like free 99 around here. So Rally Point doesn't cost you a thing to join. You do have to have a couple of conversations, and you have to engage with the community to get points per se, so that they know that you're not going to be there just to raid their network and leave. But then, of course, Indeed, our friends at Indeed, they have a filter at the very bottom left for military resumes only, and it's fairly accurate. Those are 3 quick paid and non-paid sources for you to look up for veteran talent as far as tools. But I really like digging into the communities. Somebody asked earlier about communities on the call. LinkedIn has some very large veteran communities out there, and people join them. So you can try and engage with the community, but I don't know about you guys, that's kind of slow. So if it were me as the sourcer, I'm going to do an X-ray command and then do the group title in quotes and then see who pops up and add some keywords after that. That'll bring you these folks that are in the veteran communities. I think the Veteran Mentor Network is one of the largest ones. There's the IAVA, or the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America group. Those are two big groups. IAVA is really active, actually. But again, you can take that data and do an X-ray search and put it together, drop it in your screen, and then add some keywords and bada bing. And then, of course, there's Facebook, too. Everybody's starting to get on the Facebook bandwagon a little bit easier now. So we've talked about Facebook searching tools. You can search through Facebook through Hire Tool. You can search through Facebook through Intelligence Search, Shane McCusker's tool. Then there's still the FBUID. So what I like to do is I run either Hire Tool or I run Shane's tool for my search, and then I'll scrape it with Facebook UID because it'll pull it into a nice spreadsheet for you. But I'll do groups, like there's all kinds of veteran groups on Facebook. I will say, though, have some thick skin when you go into those groups and kind of see, because sometimes we laugh at inappropriate stuff, and that's just the humor a lot of times for the military. It's not for everybody, but, you know, so it's not even, you know, we're not even sharing a screen, but I'm still giving a disclaimer, so. Yeah, there's some cool networks out there to go and source from, but I just tested out Indeed's military resume function again this morning for some roles that I'm working for in my current company, and it's bringing back veterans. Now, there's still old resumes, but if you don't contact an old resume and you need a candidate, well, you should start. So
yes.
Anyway,
Absolutely.
those are some really cool tools.
Bob Wheeler, thanks for being here. And Michael also said the Veteran Mentor Network on LinkedIn, I think you mentioned it, that those are really, both of them actually mentioned that one by name. So if anyone's looking for one to start with, start there. I'd add, actually, that spouses, military spouse networks, are a great place for candidates. They also struggle a bit with finding jobs because obviously they want to be with their significant other, you know, moving around the country, and sometimes licenses don't translate exactly, so they end up shifting their career a lot.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because the RP6 through the USO, they focus on military spouses as well. And it's a great talking point for recruiters, because sometimes you can get wrapped around the axle when we look at tenure, right? So military spouse, they're not going to have, you know, was in the Army, but you're going to see 2 years here, 4 years here, 2 years here, and don't be a tenure snob sometimes, especially because some skill sets that you like. Matter of fact, a nurse, I was in another life, in another company, looking for nurses, and her tenure was terrible. But I liked her background. I called her, said, "Oh, my husband's he's in the Navy, and we're in Florida. We're about to go to California." So anyway,
Yes.
but military spouses are kind of the unsung heroes because they have to travel just as much. They have to move just as much. They have to get new jobs just as much, and they don't put on the uniform, but they might as well. So
Right.
anyway,
Well,
thanks for bringing
and
that
not
up.
to mention, they're doing it without all of the structure, right? Like when when you're in the Army and you move from place to place, you go from this structure to that structure, and they kind of set up your personal infrastructure, and do a lot of that, and the transitioning for the kids too. Like it's hard on kids to move them all the time and make sure that they're settling in and being accepted by their peers. And,
Yeah. I moved. So I was an Air Force brat growing up, and then I rebelled against my father and joined the Army. So there's that. Yeah, and what, 5 schools in 7 years or something like that? That's tough. And kids, man, think about that. So
13 and 13 years.
Oh Lord, help you.
Right. And some were like, 6 months, others were like a year and a half, so it wasn't as clean as it probably could have been, but
You want to remember your teacher's names, you'll be gone.
yeah. But it makes me great in a group. I can make friends anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So culture fit, folks, culture fit. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Totally, totally. So if there are any, we have about 3 minutes left, so if there are any specific advice that you want to make sure people walk away from this call with today, what would that be?
Yeah. Educate yourselves. Educate your hiring managers. And don't try and win the war. Such an analogy. Don't try and do everything in one fell swoop. Start small. It can just be you. That's all that it takes is one person, and then you can affect your spheres of influence that way.
Exactly.
And don't hire every veteran. Do your due diligence. And then I really liked what you put out there, Veterati. I'm going to go sign up for that when we get off. And instead of thanking a veteran, do something to impact their network. Actions speak louder than words.
Amen. I'm totally with you on that. Well, that's our show today. This time always flies when we're chatting, Aaron. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And thank you to everyone on the call who served, who is going to go take action to go help a veteran today. I'm going to thank you in advance, and that is my call to you. Go do something. If you need any advice or you have questions about veterans, both Aaron and I are more than happy to help. I'm speaking for you, Aaron, because I know how apt you are to jump out of your way to help everyone. And next week, we actually have our 3rd return guest, and one that always gets a big shout out from all of our attendees. His name is Dean DaCosta. You heard of him? We're doing tools. He's going to share his screen and just answer your tools questions for a solid half hour. We'll go to the hour if people want to. So we'll see you back here, same time, same place, next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Aaron, thank you again. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks for having me. See you guys.
See everyone soon.
Bye.